Hi, I'm Aaron at 1 Maybe 2 Retro. Here we go. Are you ready? This is that completely dead C64 bread bin that we are going to try to repair or at least start diagnosing to figure out what the issue is. I have, from my most recent video on building a new test cartridge, I believe I have the tools to really help me diagnose this. So we're going to use the test cartridge to do the initial diagnostics, and then we're going to move on to possibly some even deeper diagnostics. We know that this system turns on. We know that the SID chip is not viable, or at least doesn't produce any sound. So I assume that means not viable. Yeah, so let's get to it. We're going to flip this over. We're going to open it up because we're going to start removing some potentials. Oh yeah, that one's stripped. And this one's not too much better. Come on, magnetic tip, work. Before I get into this, make sure I got my ground strap on. And my body's grounded. I am wearing a bit of a fleecy jacket today. We're going to just pull this right out. Take the lid right off. Yeah, we're going to get right at the chips. Oh yeah, is this the one that glows up, or is this the one that... Before we start ripping this apart, let's make sure we understand which one we're working with. I'm not sure if this is the one that has the LED that actually glows, but it is the one that, oh my gosh, has absolutely crazy amount of decay in this area here. Hopefully I didn't cover that up by the thing. I'm not even going to plug in the keyboard. I'm just going to power this on like this. Yep, there's a little bit of a glow. You'll see... I wasn't recording. Powered it on. Yep, this is the one with a bit of a glow, believe it or not. You will see, you can't see, I'm pointing with my mouse, but you're going to see down the left-hand side of the screen, there is a video signal coming out of the VIC-2. This generally indicates that there is a bit of life in this machine. So, in taking off the keyboard, we're now going to throw, without doing anything else, we're going to throw my dead test cartridge. This now has Matthew Desmond's new test software on it, which uses Maxi mode and bypasses most of the chips. Now I'm going to see if this will work coming out of the box, and then if it doesn't, we're going to remove every chip on the board that we don't need to be able to do a very fundamental test. Let's see. I still see that gray line down the side. I'm not seeing anything come up from the test cartridge. All right. But we do know that the VDC, the VIC, pardon me, we do know that the VIC is receiving power, whether it's the right power or not. So we're just gonna take the, all the chips that we don't need, that possibly could be throwing an error, or possibly causing this to not boot even in its most simple mode. Out of the unit. And we'll see if we can spring some life into it. We'll put that over here. And I'm just going to go double check for some reference material that, if I'm not mistaken, we don't need the CIAs in here. We don't need the SID in here. And we don't even need the VIC chip in here for this to be able to successfully run. So, oh, and I don't think we need the ROMs either. Just gonna double check that. Yeah, so to be precise, the CPU, the VIC2, and the PLA need to be functional. Though the ROM CIAs are not required. ROMs, CIAs, and SID are not required. So here we go. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my zoomy zoom here. So first we're going to remove the SID. Oh my goodness. And I really need to... There we go. There's the SID. These are the two CIAs. I'm going to remove those next. Nice and crunchy. Might be a good sign that they haven't been tampered with. Is my number one concern about this board is that well, somebody just went, okay, well, let's just throw all these dead things into this board and sell it. There we go, CIA number 1. Looks like an original mouse chip. Making sure I don't bend the crap out of these pins, and keep the chips in the order that I took them out. Okay, so we have the 3 ROMs here. They're my next target. Well, I do hope that, you know, at the very least, if there we go, there's one ROM. Now, the really interesting thing is, I don't know, the paste on these chips look relatively new. It's like somebody opened it and pasted, put new paste on it. I will check the versions of these once I get them out. Might have been, oh my gosh. Yeah, not bending the pins too badly. One more. There we go. 2 CIA chips, 3 ROMs, SID chip are out. Let's see if we get anything on our screen. Let me just make sure I'm in video mode here. And okay. Looks like we're going to have to go to the next level of diagnostics because I am getting nothing. I am not surprised, really, from any other perspective. Yeah, expect anything less with a motherboard that's looking like this. The question is, I know the SID chip is very likely toast, that's not good. Are any of the other chips any good? Can any of them be salvaged and possibly used to fix another dead board? Okay. Well, we do have the other one, which we can do a basic test on. Oh, I shouldn't be unplugging this unless I've got it unplugged. And then I will come back to this one, and we will do some deeper testing on it. It's an 8510. And this is an R8. Interesting. Okay. Well, let's just do a quick sanity check on this one. I'm going to switch this back. Oops. Switch this back to that mode. We're going to plug in our... Now, certainly this one is the better looking motherboard. And this one, compared to the other one, has 8-pin video. So, survey says, no glowing light, but again, we do seem to see a bit of life in the VDC. You know, we get that bar down the left, VDC, I said it again. We do seem to have a bit of life in the VIC-2, but nothing else. So again, this one is candidate for pulling parts out. And the reason why is because I'm doing both of these at the same time instead of, you know, jumping into that one and doing voltage. I want to see if one is better off than the other. You know, and this one doesn't have basic, well, the lead might just be dead. But let's, we do know that there's some voltage going to that VIC-2. So yeah, I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to pull the SID, I'm going to pull the, I'm going to pull the SID, I'm going to pull the CIAs, I'm going to pull the ROMs. And hope, now this is interesting. 1982 Commodore Business Machines, 1982 Commodore. So I can't pull the CIAs. I can only pull the ROMs and the SID. Can't pull the CPU. Now, if you saw my other video, you know that I did pull this SID out previously, and I did check to see if it worked. Without this SID in it. Here, let's keep these chips grouped together. This one without 5 volts running, well, this one without the LED glowing has me really concerned that we are we really don't have the proper. When you just know you're doing something wrong. But, you know, the quasi-exciting thing, oh yeah, yeah. Look at that, look at what I did there. Wow. A little bit of needle nose, we'll put that back. We'll have to be careful putting these back. I'm keeping these in a very specific order to make sure that We don't have, I'll be able to do some reference checking of the part numbers to make sure really they are the proper chips. If they are the improper chips for this board or for the socket that they're in, then it pretty much confirms that somebody was in at least one of these machines and harvested the parts and replaced bad parts. And the only reason why you would throw bad parts back in is because you wanted the good parts and then wanted to recoup whatever you spent on a dead unit, and didn't want to go through the effort. Well, that's really interesting. Go through the effort of okay, so with everything out that we could, the survey says, oh, pardon me, it would help if I had video. Whoa, that's really interesting. I did plug in the correct video cable, right? So I only removed the ROMs. Oh. Okay. I think we might have a bit of a dirty switch here as well. There we go. Yeah. Nothing. I'm really not feeling any heat on any of the chips. Like nothing's heating up here. Okay, well, I think we know we've got some challenges with both of these boards. Time to do my research. I'll go offline and get back to you all. All right, I'm back. I'm ready to give you a good update. I didn't pull you through hours on hours and hours of chip testing. It's pretty boring. But what you're seeing here in front of us is the third acquisition. I got in around June. And when we tested this on site, it was not working. So I got it at not working pricing. And much to my surprise, as I went through devices and turned them on and to see if I could find a working SID chip, this was the third one I tested. It's not in the previous video as I was working on the first Brett bin. I found a working system. So I've spent the last few hours using this as my test platform. And yes, there's the 6581 U18 bad and control port bad. Yeah, the SID is bad. It's missing some notes, I'm pretty sure. And I think the SID in my SX64 and the Brett bin that I tested the other day, I think they all have the same problem, but we can verify that in a minute. Regardless, it's just not all the voices are playing. But we'll still verify that. This machine is operating well enough that I can then use my test cartridge to test each one of the chips out of the first board that we were working on. Not this board, pardon me. To test the first board that we were working on, this one right here. And so I pulled the CIAs, I pulled the ROM chips, as you saw, I pulled the SID. And we already knew from our previous experience with the first bread bin that the SID wasn't really working. Here, I'm just going to turn that off. And then I pulled the CIAs, so then I pulled the CPU, the PLA, sorry, this is the PLA, I believe, in this one. U17. And then I pulled the VIC-2 chip. And they're all compatible with this Rev-A motherboard, to my understanding. And I'll confirm that. The VIC-2 would be the only one that would be in question, but I've got a confirmation. And so I tested each one of the chips that came from this board. And look at this. The CIAs passed their test. I wasn't able to test the basic ROM, but both the kernel and the character ROMs worked. And look, the CPU worked as well. Now, what wasn't working, and not surprising, some of the most sensitive chips, the video chip, the SID is not working. Let's just pretend it's here. We're not putting it back in. And sadly, the PLA, not working at all. This PLA gives a blank screen. I also took the known good PLA, CPU, and VIC-2 chip and put them in this motherboard. And same issue. Single band coming from the VIC chip. So the only chip I haven't tested is this, and I'm not going to. I'm going to pull it, and I'll test it, but I don't think this motherboard's worth it. I'll use it for harvesting RAM where appropriate. It's got a bunch of non-MOS RAM chips, which may or may not be good. But I would say that, with the way these traces look, I wouldn't trust this motherboard. So looking at them together, I did try the CPU, the CPU, the PLA, and the original known working CIAs in this motherboard, and VIC, and this motherboard did not come to life. And CPU. So of course, testing them in reverse, this motherboard tested flying colors with both Matthew Desmond's test bench as well as the regular full diagnostics kit with the test harness, as much as a Rev-A will. I mean, it showed that the SID was bad. It shows that the controller is bad, but we now know that that's a known issue. I'm confident enough that these chips can be marked as green. These chips can be marked as green, and I bet you that this one's working as well, and we can test it in the other machine. These we know are dead. We can set them aside. And I think we can set this board aside, and I'll probably desolder everything that looks like it's known good on it and use it for things. Well, we can't even use the this one does have the 8-pin video, which is too bad. But yeah, this is I believe the newer revision motherboard. This motherboard, interestingly enough, very similar. It is a much newer well, it is a newer motherboard, or in theory it's a newer motherboard. But it's assembled in 83. This one's 84. This one is 82. So I might be able to use this chip to support here, or maybe not. So this one's interesting, and this is the one I'm going to focus on repairing first rather than this one. This one as well had a good CPU. Wow. This one had a good video chip. This one had good ROMs, except for the basic ROM, which, sorry, not the basic ROM. Oh, that's not a ROM. Sorry, I think that's the character ROM, technically. This one had a PLA that glowed up, but was showing PLA issues. Much like my Commodore SX64. So it comes out U17 here. So actually I think this one I've got in reverse, but either way. And this one, the PLA, the SID, again, absolutely toast. I can't test the 6526s on this board. I'll have to check to see if I got some sockets. It's probably worth desoldering them because I have 2 sets of known good CIAs, and we can do a basic test without the CIAs. And a specific CIA, I'm not sure which one it is. I believe it's the left one. I'll have to double check that. If one of them, a specific one of the two is shot, it can sometimes lead to a dead screen, i.e. a black screen with a white line down the side. But between all these, we have enough good parts. Oh, and one of the PLAs that I bought online, which I hadn't had a chance to test, also tested good. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. This is the one that when it powered on, the power light didn't come on. So it might actually not be a completely dead board other than the fact that maybe the switch is dead. I don't think so. I mean, at least 5 volts is coming across, or maybe it's 12 is coming across to the video chip, to the VIC-2. Because we are getting that line. It is getting power. It is going to a black screen. So yeah, my next step is to take this board, which was bread bin number 3. We've confirmed bread bin number 4 is working and good. And we know that between the 2 bread bins, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 known good chips. And if I do the math quickly in my head, let's just say that they were worth 20 bucks a pop Canadian. Yeah, I didn't get scammed. That's great. So, yeah, I think I'm really looking forward to the diagnostics of this one, and we'll continue to work together on that. But in the meantime, the price I paid for these 2 dead bread bins, plus a 1541 that I haven't even looked at, there's enough good chips that it'll pay for itself, plus a donor board for RAM, which I don't have yet. We gotta, gotta pretend that at least half the RAM is viable, harvestable and viable, and maybe even these 2 CMOS. So yeah, I mean, from a parts only, on a whim, winning the auction, and then I had no shipping because I was able to pick them up in Vancouver after buying them. I'm feeling pretty good about this purchase, and we still might yet get another working Commodore 64 out of it with a lot more effort. Welcome to my journey. Are you ready? On to the next set of testing. All right. So what I've done is I've taken the group of known working chips plus my new PLA, leaving the SID out. I'm going to check this one more time to see if we get any joy. So the first test is, oh, that was really interesting. Very interesting. We're going to, I don't know if that's going to show up on your recording. Let's try that again. This time it's a solid line. I got a very interesting flicker on my screen. I hope that didn't just destroy the chip. Okay, we're going to try a dead test on this again. And we're going to go to swap that, swap that. I think slot 6 is where I had it, and we'll put it on high. Okay. Survey says no, still a horrible line there. And sadly, this chip that's in this board, the MOS 8701, I don't think is a direct replacement for any of these chips. So, yeah. It could very likely be one of these two chips that's causing the problem here. Or it's still, this is not getting enough, the right power. Or it could be one of the CIAs. But while that is ruminating in the back of my head, and just to be sure, I mean, I tested both CPUs. Both CPUs work, but let's just for fun's sake say we put the CPU in here. Let's just say I made a mistake and didn't do it in the order that it was supposed to be done. Let's see what happens here. No, exact same experience. That's okay. I'm gonna keep the original chips that were working in the original machine. Obviously, the PLA is not its original, and this one's getting set aside because while we have these open, the last thing I need to really check. Oh, should I pull the PLA as well? No, we'll leave the PLA in here for testing. Well, I've got everything out and the test harness hooked up here. I might as well test these keyboards and see what kind of state they're in. I really shouldn't be touching the live wires on that plug. So while this is open, I have a keyboard tester at slot 5, which would be, this goes back to low, and this is on, and slot 5 is on, oops, on, off. because that's a keyboard tester. And we'll take the one from the first, which has this missing key. That's okay. We can get new keys. Let's have a look-see at whether this keyboard works or not. Let's just turn this on. We have glow. Look at that. There's a keyboard tester. One. Ooh, nice and sensitive. You notice how sometimes the SID doesn't make any noise? Yeah. It's time for me to find some SIDs. Hey. This keyboard fully works, except for one key and a dim light. All right. I'm going to get a sticker on here. This is no good. And I don't know if you notice, but when you look at this keyboard here, it's pretty fusty. So, you know, the new cases from these and maybe one of the keyboards, we're going to be able to upgrade this into something better. But in the meantime, let's see how this does. There we go. Turn that back on. Keyboard tester works. Feels like a pretty robust keyboard to me. Yeah. Nothing wrong with this keyboard. Excellent. Even the LED works. Okay, well that is a sign that if this LED works, this one gets a green dot. This LED works, then maybe, we've got a 5-volt power issue on that other motherboard that may or may not be easy to rectify. All right. Well, let me just see something here. Okay, this is the third unit. The keyboard that actually goes with this unit. Really dim light. Starts up. That key was sticky. Same with that one. Not that a good cleaning. Restore key doesn't work. Shift lock doesn't work. Okay. This one's getting some oranges. Yes, sir. This is not perfect. That shift lock does not work. Now, that doesn't mean it can't be fixed. Just good to know. those specific keys don't work. So overall, it looks like at the very least, I'm going to be swapping to one of those nicer cases. Even the one with the pry marks on it. That's even a nicer case than this one. All right. Well, the idea is to get, as many good computers out of not so good. So we'll pull that off, put it to the side. Well, actually, I don't need to pull it off. We'll leave it on just so we have it for reference. And we'll put it back together. So at this point, I've done all my basic diagnostics. I've done my chip swaps. I've done everything I can without getting out an oscilloscope and a multimeter and actually testing each one, going through a test on that one motherboard. As I said, the other motherboard, I really don't think it's worth it. Hey, if you want to be interactive, I'm looking to my community and actually, providing advice. If you think I should be paying attention to that heavily corroded motherboard, let me know. Oh, by the way, that's the cool thing about this one. It's made in Canada. That one's made in Canada. C27377. 783. So it's the 273rd, 783rd, made in Canada. I forgot to check the back here, but yep, nice and solid. So this is another one that overall, I have to say, works. Even the feet are there. So I'm gonna give this one a yellow, because we do know that the SID is not, at least I don't think the SID is perfect. All right. On to our next steps. We'll see you in a bit.